Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Clocked In with the Press, hosted at Altman Studios in Brentwood, California. In this podcast, we highlight news stories, organizations, and individuals in the community that deserve your attention. Not everything stated in this podcast is supported by or reflects the beliefs of the press. So if you have something to say, let us know on Twitter or Instagram at PressClockedIn or on Facebook at thepress.net. This is your host, Jake Menez, clocking in. For today's episode, I will be talking with two brothers who not only own their own home remodeling business, but also recently aired the final episode of their own national radio show. Here to hang out with us today are James and Morris Carey. How you guys doing today?
Hey, wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm hanging.
Yeah.
And so the first voice you're hearing here is Morris. Go ahead.
I'm Morris.
And this one here is James.
That's right.
All right, perfect.
I'm the one on the left.
I guess. And so you two, I think we'll start with the radio show, obviously. So you want to tell me a little bit about that for anybody who maybe didn't hear it when it was live?
James has to tell you about it because he's the founder of the radio show. We had a construction company together, and he decided he wanted to be on the radio. And it's far be it from me to assume that he couldn't do it. But in fact, he did. And he did that back in what, the 80s?
I don't think I can remember back that far. I'm having trouble remembering 2021, right?
Oh my gosh, it's a blur.
No, yeah, that was 1987. And as you know, Jake, because you visited our studio.
I did. I was there on, I think, the second to last broadcast.
Not nearly as nice as Altman Studios here, but God, I don't think we ever did the radio program on a leather couch. But
no, I did.
As a matter of fact, I think I once owned this couch.
I did it in a recliner. Remember?
Oh, you did?
Yeah, for several years.
A Hawaiian Lomi massage chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Well, anyway,
another story.
Enough about that.
Yeah.
It was 87, and we began much like I guess we did do the first bit of taping from a love seat in my then home in Pittsburgh on cassette with a couple of Radio Shack mics and a mixer.
Yeah.
That's true. That was. And then we were doing that for KKIS, which was the local radio station in Pittsburgh that we grew up with. And of course, during that time, you could go up to their state-of-the-art studios on 4th Street in downtown Pittsburgh and see the disc jockey at work spinning records. Wasn't that cool? And if you could pick up the latest, what was it, the top songs?
Yep.
Anyway, yeah, so 87 was when we began, and 86 rather. And then 87, as our former program director says, we began Real Radio, which was on KCBS AM 740 in San Francisco.
We did that for 4 years, and we were one of many talk shows on KCBS. There was, you're too young to remember, but there was Bert Bertolero, the Dirt Gardener. There was, who was the Joe Carcione?
They don't even know who Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and all these people are. Come on.
These guys were all, like mega radio stars.
Yeah.
And I felt humbled to be working on the same station with all these guys, Narcy, David, and the real estate guy and everything. And it was just so much fun. And 4 years after that, KCBS went to all news and canceled all the radio shows, and 3 or 4 of us were able to find work in either local television or we got a job at another radio station. And I think we're the only ones, after a few years, we were the only ones left from KCBS on radio.
Yeah, we went from KCBS to KSQN. That's K San Quentin.
Oh my God!
No, we went.
The acoustics weren't great in that cell.
No.
We went to Johnny Cash of you.
We went to KNBR where we were for 7 years.
Yeah,
and then they went all sports. But in the meantime, we started syndicating nationally, and at one point we were up to 300 stations, and
300 pounds.
That's right.
That's another story for another day.
And of course, once we were on the radio, everybody wanted us to write a newspaper column. That became another syndication we did in Northern California and ultimately led to another one of James's finaglings, which was to get us to get us associated with Associated Press news features, and we wrote a weekly home improvement column for 18 years, every week, and it was taken by 750 papers. And our little studio and our little website in Pittsburgh, California, was getting 1 million hits a month because of that newspaper column. At the same time, we were asked to write books. We wrote, 12 books and booklets, and one of which is still in print, Home Maintenance for Dummies.
That's my kind of book.
All of
I
that,
resemble that remark.
all of that led to local television, which we did at KTVU for 7 years, and we were guests at all the San Francisco TV stations until we finally got a job doing a TV show in Hollywood called Home and Family on the Family Channel. We did that for 2.5 years till it was canceled. And then
We don't like to say canceled. We like to say until the show wrapped.
Well,
because there was a wrap party. Boy, you never saw anything. I mean, you do the television show, and the fellow who conceived of the show and produced it is named Woody Frazier. And he was the executive producer of a show, again, that you would probably not recall, called The Mike Douglas Show. Now, Mike Douglas was the 1960s and 70s Oprah.
Okay.
Okay?
really,
He had a phenomenal show. And Woody went on to create a show that you probably are familiar with because it is still on television, and that is Good Morning America.
I've heard of that in passing.
He also did The Home Show on ABC, which was a ABC network show. Nonetheless, Woody had this show, Home and Family, and he decided that he wanted to do a home and garden magazine show, essentially, that dealt with not only home improvement and cooking and gardening and crafts and health and all of that. And he wanted to do it from a real home. So he built a home on the back lot at Universal Studios between the Psycho House, yes,
really,
and the Leave It to Beaver House.
Oh my gosh.
that's true.
And so when we went to work every day, we were on the back lot of Universal Studios. It was kind of fun, and we got to visit all of the sets and so on. But
They did a Jurassic Park set right next to our set. It was amazing. I got to walk through the whole set. It
Should
was
have had one of
wonderful.
them on as a guest.
they had crossing guards for the dinosaurs. Yeah. Nonetheless, we did that. That was a lot of fun. Met a lot of people, and after that, my point is that you have trailers. There are talent trailers. There are trailers for the
Producers.
production staff, and the trailer after trailer. Everything is rented, and when a show wraps, it wraps, and everything disappears. It's amazing. But the house is still there. And then after that wrapped, we moved over to CBS News Saturday morning in New York and did work for them for about a year. And that was a lot of fun. And then a few years ago, went back for the 20-year, I guess it rose from the ashes like the phoenix, and that is Home and Family came back after 20 years, and it's still going, this time on the Hallmark Channel.
Okay.
And so we did the first season and part of the second season, and with all that we have on our plates, it's tough to commute to the...
We were going down to
LA.
were going down to Burbank
Right.
on Monday morning, and coming home on Thursday night, which doesn't leave you a lot of family life. and we had done that on the previous TV show. And sometimes they would ask us to stay on Friday as well. So we were seeing our families, 3 days a week tops, and often only two. And so it was.
And
it
my
wasn't-
wife could not have been happier.
Yeah, yeah.
So fast forward 35 years, here we are. We're not writing books, we're not writing columns, we're not doing radio, no television, but boy, we're busier than ever, and we've come full circle. We are back to where we began, not really ever having left, but our entire focus is on our passion, and that is design, build, home remodeling, and it's just wonderful.
So before the radio and the TV and the books, you guys were doing the remodeling before that, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
How did you two end up in that world? How did that start?
I started as a carpenter in 1976. I opened a company in 1978.
Now, wait a minute. That's not how you tell the story. The story always is, I started as a ditch digger.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it is. That's
I did.
always been the story. I don't know why he's
Well,
changing it for you.
Got to
Yeah.
polish it up a little
Yeah,
bit, I guess.
yeah, I
You got
guess.
the time to think about
It's a
it.
funny thing. I was a salesman.
It all started in a manger.
Wait a minute. I was born in a manger, yeah.
Yes.
I was a salesman, a car salesman, and I was having a good time. And my mom passed away, and I went into the dumper, and I couldn't talk to people anymore. And so I went from number one salesman to the bottom of the list.
Want to buy a car? Go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's basically what my attitude was.
Get off my lot.
My brother's a car salesman briefly. I think it might have been the same philosophy.
So
That's right.
I called a family member who had a construction company, and I said, "You offered me a job a long time ago at half my wages, and I didn't take it because I couldn't afford it. But now I just have to get in a place where I can work by myself." And he said, "Come to work in my construction company." And I did. I, in fact, started as a ditch digger and cleanup guy. And they trained me to do everything that there was in construction. I set up temporary power poles. I did all the different aspects of carpentry, and they offered me a position as a foreman. I had built houses for them in Monterey, and they offered me a position as a foreman. And at the same time, I got offered another position for my own company, and I took it, and I opened the company, and I think within 2.5 years, I was broke in one of the biggest recessions. Interest had gone to 22%. I don't know if you know what
Can you
interest
imagine?
at 22%
Interest
means.
today is in around 3%.
Right, yeah.
2.5%, 3.5%, depending upon 22. Can you imagine getting a home loan for 22%?
Anyway,
You'll have this paid off at the second coming.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I went to work as a superintendent, building 50 condos and some other custom homes. And one day, James and I were driving together, and he said to me, he said, "You know what?" He said, "You're working for all these other guys, and you had this magnificent company, and you were doing all this great work." He says, "Why don't you go back into business?" And so he encouraged me to go back, and we did. We became partners, and we reopened the business, and we did that for a while. And then, of course, the radio company came along, and we did those. And we're still doing the construction with now 43 or 44 years of experience.
I, on the other hand, did not start as a ditch digger. I started as a grave digger.
No.
And I found business to be a little on the dead side.
No. I had hired him.
I went to work for him.
Sounds like you're the bad influence here.
I beg your pardon?
You're the bad influence.
I am.
All the
I'm the
ideas are
evil. I'm the
yours.
evil twin. 12 years younger. I'm the evil twin. That's right. See, I would tell you about the evil twin in the TV show Bewitched, but you're too young to know
I know
Bewitched.
Bewitched.
Do you?
Of course.
Oh yeah. From time to time, if you're a really good customer, we twinkle our nose like she did. There were two people who I grew up with on television that I revered. One was Samantha, Bewitched, because she could twinkle her nose and she could make anything happen. And the other one was Barbara Eden, who played Jeannie, who could cross her arms and boom, and you could have a new Bentley in your driveway. It's never been that easy for us, but I will tell you that there is nothing like seeing the transformation. And I did go to work for him. I had no idea that I would enjoy doing what I do as much as I do. But for me, what I reflect on is the home that we grew up in, that our grandfather built at the turn of the century, 1910, 1911. And it was a summer, school was out, and the porch, like many of the porches in the old homes in downtown Pittsburgh that were of a Mediterranean style, the porch was concrete and it was painted red. And it had not been painted for many years, and so the red had faded to kind of an orange. And I don't know why I got it in my head that the porch needed a new coat of paint, and that was going to be my project. But I went to Diablo Lumber, which was on Central Avenue in Pittsburgh, between Railroad Avenue and Solano Street. Remember Diablo Lumber?
Yep, I do.
I remember when Dad picked up creosote from Diablo Lumber. I can still smell the creosote, which we used to treat the lumber with for the basement doors that we rebuilt. We had a basement in the home. Anyway, Diablo Lumber was the place to go. Got the red porch paint, and I painted that porch, and I stood back, and I looked at my work, and I looked at that porch. I was making trips to Diablo Lumber for paint. I was painting walls, and, it was wonderful. And then I got into gardening, and it was wonderful. And I was so moved by the transformation and what things could be that I just simply never get over it. It's a wonderful challenge.
After about 6 months of him working for me, I could tell there was hatred in his heart because I was very, very tough on him, and he saw no special favors. And I didn't want to show him any favoritism because I wanted to make sure that he got along well with the men. I had a big crew, and I wanted him to fit in. So I was tough on him, and the guys took him under his wing, and they were good about teaching him. And I felt that if he was going to be my business partner, that he had to learn from the ground up like I did. You can't come out of college and run a construction company effectively if you don't know how it feels to hit yourself on the thumb with a hammer. And I use that analogy because there are so many instances like that make you more aware of what you need to know to manage men, to price work, to organize jobs, and to understand the bidding process and real costs and the waste that occurs in a project. All of those things are so important, practical experiences, such important practical experiences that without them, I don't think a person can be the most effective of managers. And I remember teaching James one thing, and I'd go on to something else and he'd do it. And once I moved on to something else, he would say, "Teach me that." And I would teach him that. And he was never satisfied He was like a sponge, wanting to learn everything that he could to be an equal. And I told him one time, I said, "You have a college education and I don't." I said, "When I'm finished teaching you what I know or what I've learned about construction," I said, "you'll have a college education and the construction knowledge, and you will ultimately be a much better boss than I'll be." And as it turns out, that's the fact.
It's amazing that 22% interest and that horrible recession led to a lifelong career, to the extent that had that not happened, we would not have been forced to, you either learned to do various trades or you gave the work to someone else and you were essentially not employed full time. So there was no demand for new construction. That pretty much came to a screeching halt. But people still needed to do things to their homes. So we were getting requests from friends and acquaintances who said, I need to have an addition. I need this remodeled. That started, I think, in Hayward or
Redwood City.
yeah, and we couldn't get out of Dodge. I mean,
We were driving 2 hours each way, and we couldn't get out of there.
we'd get one job wrapped, and another one would start just up the street or around the corner. Long story short is that gave us the space to learn plumbing, electrical, mechanical, a lot of stuff that a quote unquote carpenter would not normally
Right.
do. So that knowledge and that experience led to the media, to the extent that we could be reliable resources for people as they wanted to attempt to do things on their own. But a great part of what we offered our audience throughout the years was the confidence to make informed buying decisions and how to prevent getting into trouble.
I told James one day, I said, "This 2 hour commute is just killing us. We work an 8 hour day, a 10 hour day, and we have 4 hour commute. That's 14 hours a day.
Right.
Then family and just a little bit of sleep and then back to work." So I said, "We're going to stop working down here." We made a conscious decision to come back to Pittsburgh and make that our base and stop working down on the peninsula. And I said to James, I said, "I want to do an upscale company." And he said to me, "Well, what if people don't want upscale?" I said, "Then we'll go broke." And because I didn't want to do junk building. I wanted to do really nice stuff that would last. Not Bentley, but really good quality with stuff that was warrantable, that we could stand behind, that we could be proud of, because we had to put our name on it.
Kind of a mix between a Hummer and a Mercedes.
Right.
So if I can ask, you two have stuck with it for 40 years now, obviously. So what's your favorite part of, still doing it?
I remember this vividly. We had a project that I had not seen. We had grown substantially. And one of our customers most of the time become dear friends. And when I say most of the time, we're friendly with everyone, but some, we have relationships with after the project. And we were invited to a housewarming for a bathroom that we had remodeled in Danville or something. I can't remember the town. Anyway, we went to the house, and the owner said, "Let me show you the bathroom." I hadn't seen it. And I walked into the bathroom, and there was this place that just looked magnificent. I mean, It was colorful, and it was spacious, and it was so beautifully designed. It was storybook, and I couldn't believe that we had done it. And I was just amazed. And so you say, what's the best part of the job for me? It's seeing the finished product. When you ask me what my favorite part of the project or my job is, it's seeing a project built to the standards that I had always aspired to. Beautiful craftsmanship, magnificent design, just everything in its place, and everything good quality, and the customer with a really big grin on their face. That was, and is my favorite part of doing what I do. I love sitting at a computer and doing design work. I love to do electrical work, and I still do. But what I just said is the number one pleasure that I have doing this.
I think that's terrific. James?
You know, anyone that's in business does it because they have a certain instinct. They want to be an entrepreneur for whatever reason. There's a certain risk that goes along with that. And so at the end of the day, you hope that after you put all the receipts in the shoebox and you're done, that there's a little something left in the way of profit, right?
Of course.
That's the goal. That's the risk versus return. And we're not unlike any other entrepreneur. That certainly is something that we work hard for. But that's not the primary motivation for either of us. At the end of the day, I think there is no sum of money that can rival or even get close to the satisfaction that we feel when we have a good job and a happy customer. There simply is. You could just take a forklift with just a pallet full of cash and say, I'm going to put this into the back of your pickup. It wouldn't even get close to a sincerely happy customer. That means everything to me.
As a young adult in Pittsburgh, after I got back from the service, I learned about a contractor whose name was Angelo Davy. He was an old guy at that time, and he was revered in the community as a man of honesty and integrity and a very high quality builder and craftsman. And I aspired to be like him. Yeah, and as James said, it wasn't about money. You have to have money to live, but you also have to have personal satisfaction. You have to try and achieve those bits of happiness that you get from doing what you admire in others. And I've always wanted to be like Angelo Davy, and I would love to go to my grave respected as a man of integrity, a man of honesty, a man whose contract is his word and his handshake. And the one thing that I tell every single person in our company, period, never, never, never take a shortcut on a customer because we're out of budget. I would just as soon die as have that happen. And I found out in time that makes the people who work for us very happy and very confident that we are good people.
They don't have to take shortcuts.
Right, and that's very empowering, obviously, both for your employees and for yourselves, obviously. And I think the passion shows through.
I didn't know that.
It's pretty well understood, and it's known, certainly in the trades. I don't know whether you or other consumers are as aware of it, but it's understood that a contractor will make his or her overhead and profit, which are generally 10% each, 10% overhead, 10% profit, in change orders after the contract is signed. We have always worked very hard not to do change orders. We have found that change orders drive a wedge between the contractor and the client. They blow a budget. Someone has, gotten a home improvement loan or they've refinanced or whatever, and they have a finite amount of money. People don't have stacks of cash, and it derails the project schedule and creates chaos. So it's a double-edged sword, because when we come out the gate, we often, not always, but often, our price is higher than another bid, which may not be as thorough or as transparent. But we feel that it is absolutely the right way of doing things. And I think our process, which always begins with the identifying the client's needs and goals and dreams, and then converting those into a design and a detailed cost estimate. I'm proud to report that last year, our change order rate, which we track, was 2%.
Wow, which is, I'm assuming, fairly low for the industry.
2%.
Well, the industry standard, believe it or not, is 20%. And we've been monitoring our change order rate since day one, because it was something that we wanted to eliminate. And what we discovered, and we were unhappy with our original 1.5% because we didn't want any change orders.
Right.
But the change order rate that we did have, we nailed down to things that people wanted in addition to the confines of the original project, rather than something that was really a part of what they wanted in the beginning. And also credit change orders. In other words, sometimes there were products that were needed or services that weren't needed, and that would go back in the form of a credit to the customer. And that's how the pluses and minuses brought us to 1.5% and now 2%. And we're both very proud of that.
No, I think that's terrific. I am getting the cue here from Brian that we got to wrap up.
We don't call that the cue. We call that the hook, and we're very familiar with the hook.
Yeah.
So do one quick lightning round. How's this? So just quick. We'll give you two more quick questions. And so, what was your favorite part of the radio show when it was running?
My favorite part was finding out that I had helped someone, and that it saved them money and saved them time and brought them happiness. Nothing was of greater pleasure to me than that.
To scratch my entertainer's itch.
I love to hear my own voice too. I feel it.
Yeah, that was just, I always wanted to be Johnny Carson. You probably don't remember who he is either. But anyway, yeah, it was just the entertainment value. It was a lot of fun.
I think it's terrific. And then the last question I'll ask you too. So now that you've got the free time, of course, with the radio show off, how are you spending it?
There is no free time. We would not have ended the radio program had it not been for the fact that our business has grown exponentially since day one. And I got sick, and I was down for several years, and we had sold a construction company, and I was on medication for several years, and we started working together again, doing some family remodels. And James said, "Let's go back into business." And I said, "I don't want to manage anymore. I'm done." He used to manage radio. I used to manage construction. I said, "I just don't want to manage anymore. I just want to work in the field. I want less pressure, less responsibility, and I want to do the things that are fun. I want to work with the men, and I want to work with my tools." And so I said, "If we do this, you're the boss. I don't want to be the boss anymore." And he said, "Okay." Now, instead of running the radio company and me doing construction, he was doing both. And it was a lot of pressure for him. And he couldn't do two big companies effectively. He was used to my help, and I wasn't there for that anymore. So we made a choice, and he made the choice. He said, "I think we ought to do this because we need to focus on the thing that is our basic
Right.
business." And so after 35 years, we thought, what the heck? We'd done a good job. We're going to go out without a hook and on our own terms. And we did. And now we're just having a lot of fun doing the construction. And no, there isn't any more rest. It's just that the focus is in one place.
I think that's terrific. And I think just the fact that you guys are continuing to stay busy speaks to that passion. I'm sorry we don't have more time because it sounds like there's a lot more that I could mine from you guys. I have to have you back for more stories, clearly. But I think, that should be it for today's episode, everybody, of Clocked In with the Press. Thanks for listening. I'm glad you enjoyed, and we loved having you guys on.
Thank you, Jake.
And of
Thank
course, they can find the syndicated, the backlogged episodes of your old radio show where?
At, I suspect that they would find them at DannyLipford.com, who is a friend who has taken our content and is perpetuating it.
I think it's terrific. And yeah, you can find that there. Highly recommend it. It's a very entertaining show. They had Dom DeLuise on a handful of times.
Yeah.
That was terrific.
Yeah.
You can find our archives for the press on thepress.net, our Facebook, our Twitter, our Instagram at both thepress.net and the Press Clocked In for the podcast. And don't forget, you can download our free app as well from your app store, so you can stay in touch that way. For the Press Clocked In, this is Jake Menez, clocking out. See you next time.